Summary of My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. The Durrell family, who live in Bournemouth, England, are battling those common diseases that are brought on by the weather while they are inside their living room on a gloomy and rainy day. Larry, the oldest son, is upset and suggests that they move to Corfu, Greece, to get away from the weather. Even though Mother thinks the idea is silly, she agrees with it. The family packs up their most important things. Jerry brings his science tools and the family dog, Roger. Margot brings her acne creams. Leslie brings his guns. And Larry brings books. They don't have to wait long before they arrive in Greece. During the cab ride to the hotel, the family is quite a sight as Roger barks at strays on the street and tries to jump out. Mother and Margot are disgusted and worried about disease when they find out that there are a lot of deaths that day and that the Greeks don't take as good care of their bathrooms as the English do. So, Mother starts looking for a house right away. Mr. Beeler, her first guide, isn't very helpful because he doesn't get why she wants a bathroom in the house. The family meets Spiro, a Greek guy who knows English, on the second day. He shows them a pink house on a hill that will be their new home. Jerry and Roger hang out in the yard, where Jerry pays close attention to the bugs on the flowers. He learns Greek quickly and makes friends with people there. Jerry is a hunter, and Yanni tells him stories about cypress trees. The strange rose beetle man sells Jerry a few pets. Jerry gets the turtle Achilles first, and everyone in the family loves him. Not long after that, he dies when he falls into a well. Next, Jerry buys a bird named Quasimodo. Quasimodo is a fun pet at first, but Jerry soon finds out that Quasimodo is a girl. After she lays eggs, she gets very wild. Soon, Jerry's mother thinks that it's time for him to go to school. Larry suggests that George, one of his friends, teach Jerry. Jerry says that George is a good teacher because he tells Jerry facts about animals that might not be true and, most importantly, shows Jerry how to watch animals and write down what he sees. Jerry and Roger go out one afternoon to explore and swim. They stop to see Yanni, and on the way home, Jerry finds some weird nests. He goes to find George so he can ask him about the nests. When he gets there, he finds that George is with the famous scientist Dr. Theodore Stephanides. Theodore talks to Jerry as if he is an adult who knows what he is talking about and tells him that the houses belong to trapdoor spiders. A few days later, Theodore sends Jerry a small microscope as a gift and asks him to tea. Jerry starts going to Theodore's house every Thursday afternoon to look at microscope images and read books. When spring comes, Larry gets heartburn from his mother's food, and Margot starts swimming with a Turk behind his back. Spiro is in a bad mood. When Margot shows the Turk to the family, everyone thinks he is arrogant and full of himself. The next night, Mother makes Margot and the Turk go to the movies with her. After that, the relationship ends because the Turk's perfume is so strong. As summer comes, Larry writes to a number of his friends and invites them to stay. Mother says they can't have guests because their house is too small, but Larry thinks the obvious answer is to move to a bigger one. Even though Mother is against it, the family does exactly that. The new house is yellow, and there are many trees all around it. Mother hires a woman named Lucrezia to help around the house. However, Lucrezia is hard to work with and always worried about getting sick. Since the furniture in the yellow house is in bad shape, Mother asks Spiro to take her, Jerry, and Margot into town to buy new pieces. When they get to town, they join a parade going to the church to kiss the feet of Saint Spiridion, who is the island's patron saint. Mother tells Margot not to kiss the saint's feet, but Margot does anyway, and she gets sick right away. Jerry likes to watch swallows build their nests in the house's eaves. The tortoises come out in the summer. Jerry watches them mate on the hill behind the house, and his favorite turtle, Madame Cyclops, even gives him an egg. In waves, Larry's friends start to show up. The author Zatopek gets there first, then Jonquil, Durant, and Michael, who are all young artists. Even though they all want to work, during their stay none of them make any art. Larry also asks Melanie, a countess who has a skin problem, to come. Mother thinks Melanie has a sexually transmitted disease and calls Theodore to check on her. She is embarrassed to find out that she was wrong. That night at dinner, Theodore tells everyone about a play that went wrong. Theodore tells Larry that anything can happen in Corfu when he says that something like that couldn't have happened. Jerry loves to watch the scorpions that live in the wall behind his house. One day, he comes across a mother scorpion with kids all over her. He puts her in a matchbox and brings her inside. When Larry tries to light a cigarette, he opens the matchbox and chaos breaks out. After this, Mother thinks that Jerry needs to go back to school, so she sends him to the Belgian embassy to learn French. Jerry doesn't learn much, but the Belgian minister spends a lot of time shooting 6 stray cats out of his window. This shows Jerry that death can be kind when an animal is hurting. Theodore comes on Thursdays so he can watch the weekly seaplane land from the Durrells' attic. He also teaches Jerry a lot about science and water life. Mother hires Peter to teach Jerry during the summer after that. Jerry also gets a room in the house where he can keep his animals and fossils. Jerry finds a baby owl in a tree one afternoon and brings it home. He is called Ulysses by his family. Even though he is very violent at first, he soon calms down and even decides that Roger is a good friend. The Durrell children and Peter start swimming at night to get away from the heat, and Jerry is thrilled when porpoises come to visit. Mother finally buys a horrible, old-fashioned swimsuit so she can join, and the family plans a picnic for her first swim on a night with a full moon. Theodore joins them, and they all watch as the phosphorescence makes the fireflies dance and the porpoises swim. Jerry finds a small group of islands after his family buys an electric motor for their boat, the Sea Cow, but they don't let him use it himself. For his birthday, Jerry asks Leslie to build him a boat. Leslie shows off the boat 2 weeks later. Jerry really likes it, even though it's round and strange. It's called the Boodlebum Trinket. It gets off to an exciting start when Peter is thrown into the water. That night, there is a great party, and Larry gives Jerry 2 puppies, which he names Whittle and Puke. Not long after that, the rest of the family thinks that Margot and Peter are getting too close, so Mother fires Peter. Margot cries and acts out for a long time. When Leslie sees that things are stolen from the Sea Cow, he sets up a complicated system of guns without telling his family. When he shoots at the thieves, Margot's mother thinks she has killed herself. Even though this makes Margot stop crying, she still takes the Boodlebum Trinket to a small island to pout in peace, where she gets a very painful sunburn on her eyelids. When winter comes, Leslie starts looking for wild boar on the mainland. Larry keeps insisting that shooting is easy, even after Leslie does something that is very hard to do. Leslie asks Larry to show everyone how to do it by coming out. Larry not only misses the birds, but he also slips and falls into the mud and has a hard time getting out. He goes to bed angry and drinks 2 bottles of brandy before falling asleep. When a coal falls out of his furnace and catches a support beam on fire, the whole family goes crazy. Larry doesn't care, so he tells his family how to get it out of bed. When spring comes around again, Great Aunt Hermione writes to Mother asking to come see her. Nobody likes Hermione, so Larry says they need to move to a smaller house so she can't come. The next house is white, and big praying mantises and geckos live in it. Jerry's pet gecko, Geronimo, hunts every night in his room and is very violent. Jerry catches a female mantis one afternoon. He thinks she is going to lay eggs. He calls her Cicely, but she gets away quickly. That night, she shows up again, and she and Geronimo fight until one of them dies. Geronimo wins. Jerry also finds 2 very big toads. One of them eats a gecko. Mother soon gets a guy named Krolowski to help Jerry with his schoolwork. She says that Krolowski loves birds. Jerry isn't sure, but at his first lesson, he finds out that Mother was right. Krolowski is an aviculturist and raises birds. Even though Krolowski has a great hobby, he is a hard teacher. Jerry thinks that Krolewski is talking about the bathroom when he says that Krolewski often goes to see his mother. Jerry finds out after a few weeks that Krolewski does take care of his mother in the house. Mrs. Krolewski tells Jerry that she is so old that she can hear the flowers talking. Jerry takes 2 baby magpies from their nest one afternoon and brings them home. The birds quickly get the name Magenpies. Larry is afraid that they will steal at first, but then he forgets about it until they break into his room and destroy his work. He tells Jerry to put them in a cage, so Jerry asks Krolewski to help him build a cage and show him how to fight at the same time. Jerry thinks Krolewski can wrestle because, compared to the other stories Krolewski has told, the one about wrestling makes sense. But Krolewski hurts Jerry very badly when he tries to teach him some tricks. Mother brings home a female dog named Dodo not long after. Dodo is hard to deal with because she goes into heat often and won't let Mother leave her sight. She has a dog named Puke. During a trip to a beautiful lake, Theodore tells them a story about a disastrous opera performance. A few weeks later, Jerry tries to catch Old Plop, a terrapin, but instead gets 2 water snakes. He also meets a prisoner named Kosti, who gives Jerry a gull named Aleko who is very cranky. Larry is afraid that Aleko is a dead weight, but Mother is more worried that Jerry is hanging out with killers. The Durrells have a Christmas party in September. From the beginning, things go wrong. Old Plop and the snakes, who are now in captivity, eat Jerry's goldfish. The snakes get heatstroke and have to cool off in the bathtub, and the Magenpies and Aleko escape and cause trouble. When Leslie finds snakes in the shower, he is scared, but the other guests wonder if he is crazy. Dodo is in season, and during cocktail hour, there is a battle. Larry tells everyone stories about how dangerous the house is. Soon after that, Krolewski says he can't teach Jerry anything else, so the Durrells get ready to go back to England so Jerry can finish school there. As they pass through Switzerland, Mother is upset when a customs official writes that the Durrells are a traveling circus and staff.
About the author. Durrell was durrell in India, in the city of Jamshedpur. Before Gerald Durrell's father died, the family moved to London. After he died, Mrs. Durrell moved Gerald, his sister Margot, and his brother Leslie to the Greek island of Corfu to live with her eldest son, Lawrence, Larry in the book, who already lived there with his wife. Even though My Family and Other Animals is semi-autobiographical and many of the characters are based on real people, it leaves out important details like Larry's marriage and the fact that Theodore Stephanides was also married and had a daughter who the families hoped would marry Gerald. When World War II broke out, the Durrell family left Corfu. In 1943, Durrell worked on a farm to help the war effort. In 1947, he started going on trips to look for wildlife. His ways of collecting were very different from what most people did at the time. He never collected too much and didn't help animal owners. After marrying Jackie Sonia Wolfenden in 1951, Durrell and his wife both started writing books to pay for his trips and conservation work. In the mid-1950s, Durrell became more and more unhappy with how zoos were run. He started making plans to open his own zoo, which he did in Jersey in 1959. The zoo became one of the most important places for breeding rare species. In 1979, Durrell and Wolfenden got a divorce, and soon after, Durrell married Lee McGeorge Durrell, his second wife. Over the next 10 years, they started several groups to protect wildlife. The most well-known of these groups is now called the Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust. After a trip to Madagascar, Durrell's health began to get worse, and he died in 1995.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.